All right. Well, good morning to you all. Thanks for joining us this beautiful Sunday morning at the inaugural Penn State Happy Valley Bonspiel. In the commentators booth this morning, my name is Brian Lee of Princeton University.
And I'm Matt Anderson of Penn State University.
We just had the opening ceremony featuring Drew Von Tisch, bagpiper with the Nittany Highland Pipe Band. My apologies. You can find them on Facebook and Google. This tournament would not be possible without the generous support of broomfitters.com. Go to broomfitters.com for all your curling supply needs and use discount code Penn State to also support the Penn State curling team. We're also brought to you by Doggy's Pub in downtown State College, PA. Streaming services for this tournament have been brought to you by OBS and Blackmagic Design. Introduction to the teams on the sheet this morning. On sheet 1, Blue Rocks PSU, Yellow Rocks Cornell. Cornell begins the game with hammer. On sheet 2, Blue Rocks Penn Nova combined, Yellow Rocks Navy 2. Navy 2 begins with hammer. And on sheet 3, Blue Rocks RPI, Yellow Rocks RIT for a showdown between two of New York's finest teams. RIT begins the game with hammer. Feel compelled to shout out the Penn Nova team consisting of 4 seniors who have certainly distinguished themselves in the college circuit. Skip Sophie Legler and her colleagues Joe Sullivan of Villanova, Liam Woods of Villanova, and Will Modowney of UPenn. Downey coming down the ice with his beautiful tuck slide. Blue Rock is slowing down quite a bit, though. It looks like they were attempting to take out the Yellow Rock. I think the teams are only now getting used to how slow the ice really just is this morning.
That's my quick observation, too. Ice was freshly prepped this morning. A couple stones have been hogged, a couple of them landing short of the house. Looks like sheet 2 has one in play, though, sitting in the 4-foot. So hopefully they can secure that if they want to keep it in play for the end of the end.
Navy being a relative newcomer to college curling, their President Quinn standing there, giving pretty wide ice, hoping perhaps for another button draw, potentially a guard. We'll see how cooperative the weight will be. And the Rock is coming a bit fast, past the hog line, landing just short of the house. Looks like he'll make it just over the top 8-foot, and indeed it sits quite beautifully.
A very good throw. Do not be fooled. Navy is a new team, but they are not new curlers. Their skip, at least, has years of experience under his belt. So he's a very adequate curler, and hopefully he'll be able to adjust to this ice quickly.
Toledo is also not here this morning, but they had a very strong showing at Nationals out at Bowling Green. Will Modowney adjusting somewhat for his downweight shot from earlier. Hoping to hold the line. Rock is coming in fast. And it taps it back and nicks it out.
Wow, almost a double.
Well done from Team Penn Nova there. Looks like RIT is also going to hog that stone, unfortunately. You know, arena ice can be quite slow, but this is a regulation field of play by dimensions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir, it is. So Penn State's come a long way from having to Sharpie houses on the ice. We now have some permanent lines in place here at the Pagula Ice Arena Community Ring.
Light and narrow from Penn Nova's Joe Sullivan. Perhaps hoping to double that. Maybe they could manage a tap back, but instead they'll have to settle with a guard. Yeah, on sheet 2, it's hard to tell from this angle, but to me it looks like yellow is just inching it out slightly. It's a little bit difficult because they got that blue guard sitting there. It's going to make a takeout quite difficult later on, but the button's still wide open, and certainly there's nothing beyond the 8-foot.
So you don't count your money when you're sitting at the table, but it is unclear who is sitting on sheet 2. Sheet 1, looks like we might have a tap back.
Yeah.
Unclear if that's in play, but it
Looks like it is. They've exchanged a guard for a biter there, but that's going to make for pretty easy pickings for Penn State.
That is their plan. Look at that broom right on top of it.
I would imagine that they would be able to, get a draw from that, but it's interesting that they want to keep the house clean so early in the game. The ice also has, over the course of the weekend, as our team has found out, is on a bit of an incline, so it is a little bit difficult for you to do for folks to manage really any sort. Oh, you're going down to the far side of the ice. Any shot coming on the left side, very difficult to really make any sort of. Let's see, that would be any sort of intern shot, really, because it just goes right back out. It follows a serpentine pattern.
That was a good read. I thought it was a curl that way.
I was talking with some of the players earlier, not too much concern over the ZAM lines on the ice, which were certainly giving a headache to a number of teams yesterday. I think skill being one thing, of course, that got a lot of these teams out here, but certainly their skip's ability to read the ice has been instrumental in some of these team successes.
Absolutely. So for those who haven't curled a Pula, the ZAM lines are a discontinuity in the ice caused by the Zambonis. They follow the edges of the Zamboni track and leave a slightly but ever so noticeable raised surface, meaning that stones will tend to follow defined paths marked out by these ZAM lines. So learning to play those, learning to have them guide your stones to where you want them to go is an integral part of being successful here.
And certainly anything along the lines of a drawaway shot with those ZAM lines. You should not expect the stone to cross the ZAM line once it's over the far hog. Up point shot from Penn State coming down sheet 1, hoping to take down the Cornell Rocks, but it looks as though they are just a little bit off, and they will take out their own rock.
Wow.
You know, it's okay to miss, but unfortunately they missed the wrong way. Skip stone from Sophie Legler of UPenn. Blue Rock coming down the ice, hoping to get on the yellow or potentially and it's a tap back. We're coming into view shortly. Curling around the blue stone, but not far enough, but certainly very much in play. And I believe at this point Penn State is only sitting, apologies, Navy 2 is only sitting 1 there with that stone just over the back, just within the back 4 foot. Penn State skip coming down sheet 1, Rob Chappelle with his first of, Penn State Vice. Rob Chappelle, winner of the inaugural Bobby Torres Award along with Gwen.
For those tuning in, the Bobby Torres Award is our first annual scholarship offered to support new curlers with equipment and helping with their dues. Both of these young curlers have shown amazing talent, passion for the sport, and a need for some good equipment from our sponsor, Broom Fitters.
You can get a discount code on Broom Fitters with code Penn State. Would also kick back to the Penn State team and support the largest college curling program, not in the state, not in the country, but in the world. Cornell Rock coming down the ice here. They're currently, at present, looks as though they're sitting 1. They're hoping to curl around that, and it is slowing down awfully fast. And it's just going to sit right on top, pile, and tap it in slightly. Doesn't net them very much, but it does guard up that rock quite nicely.
Actually, real quick, handing over to sheet 3, which is our B event final. Looks like our blue team over here, is that RIT or RPI? Let's check that out. That is RPI, and they are currently sitting 2 by the looks of it.
We're now firmly amongst the back end for the sheets that are teams that are currently playing. The ice now lies still with anticipation as Skips and Vices are in conference with one another. Penn Skip throws her final rock in the first end on sheet 2. Hard and fast the rock comes down the ice. Sweepers working on the rock furiously, tapping back one of their own. Will it go just a shy bit too far? But that's quite all right.
That's a crazy shot to make. The problem with a promotion like that is now you have 2 angles to worry about instead of 1. The angle at which that rock leaves your hand and the angle at the rock that it hits.
You know, it's hard to see if Penn State, if Navy 2 right now is sitting 1 or 2 on that house right there. But at any rate, Quinn has one more shot to make it count, potentially be able to take the deuce or potentially triple. Those rocks on the 8-foot sit in his favor.
Can't forget about the zones in the 8-foot. Cornell, on the other hand, trying to shoot for an extra point, it looks like, but they end up replacing one of their own. Looks like they're sitting 1 over in sheet 1. Meanwhile, in sheet 3, game is still firmly in RPI's favor with that stone in the center. Looks like first end is wrapping up on sheet 2. Score will follow.
85 minutes on the clock. Extra time has been budgeted for this championship game. U.S. Naval Academy and coach Lieutenant Commander Jim Fallon sitting in the stands. Must be very proud of his team, having come so far in such a fresh set of new faces on the college curling circuit. They curl out of Potomac Curling Club.
That's right. Have you ever been to Potomac Curling Club?
I actually haven't. I do understand they have dedicated ice. Actually, the southernmost curling club I've been to is Plainfield. I haven't been to anything to the south of that. I have been to a number of clubs, though, in New York State and Connecticut, Massachusetts, and most recently Ohio.
Wild. I would say Potomac Curling Club is a very nice set of dedicated ice.
I would, yeah. Well, all dedicated ice is good ice if you're used to practicing on arena ice.
It's an improvement.
Yes,
sure.
you got
Absolutely.
that right.
Looks like Cornell's final stone for this first end in our A event final. Sheet 1 closest to the camera. Let's see it. We have the updated score for Sheet 2, our C event final. It appears that is that Penn.
That is Penn Nova and Navy. The score as of right now is 1-0 in favor of Navy 2.
That's right. Navy had those 2 stones sitting in the 8 foot, or sorry, 1 in the 4 foot, 1 in the 8 foot, and it must have been counting.
Sheet 2 appears to be moving much more expediently than the others.
Play is wrapped up for this first end on sheet 3, and on sheet 1, our A event final, Penn State has hammer. Let's see what they do with it.
For a quick recap of the game on sheet 2 between Penn Nova and Navy, that is the C3 event, for championship event for the C bracket. Blue Rocks Penn Nova, Yellow Rocks Navy 2. Navy began with hammer and was able to steal 1 from Penn Nova.
Penn State with hammer thrown by skip Alex Scott. Alex is a senior and a rising independent adult. This will be his last spiel.
And it rubs off. Doesn't get them very far, but it does mean that Cornell appears to be able to get the deuce on this one.
See the ruling on the ice? Looks like they're walking away with 2. Good end, Cornell.
And that concludes the first end on sheet 1. The score as of right now, 2-0 in favor of Cornell. Entering the second end with Penn State 1 having hammer. And on sheet 3, we have scores in for the first end. The score currently sits 1-0 in favor of RPI. RIT enters the second end with hammer.
Yeah, no big blowouts on this first end, unlike some of our earlier games. People are reading the ice, people are landing their shots, and things are getting a lot more competitive than some of the earlier games I've seen.
Excuse our silence here from the commentators' box. We're just currently working on box scores.
Draw around it.
Meanwhile, over to sheet 2, play is already in way, and they are making every stone count with 5 of them in play. 3 of those in the house. On sheet 3, that would be RPI 1 with 2 stones in play. And over on sheet 1, play is just beginning with a Penn State draw.
Just a slight bit wide there, but that will do. I think it almost looks as though it's fairly guarded by that yellow. No, it's a little bit off, but makes for a fairly easy takeout. And certainly Cornell could just manage to follow them down.
Give me a little more weight.
Appears to be that's exactly what they intend to do here.
Yep. Look at the top 4. Okay, well, got plenty of room. We'll bring it right down to this one. Yep. Okay, well. Great shot.
Cornell has followed them successfully down the ice. It just taps the blue one back a little bit. Cornell sits 1 instead. Getting to see a very packed house on sheet 2. Although Navy 2 currently still sits 1. Off says Penn skip Alex Scott as the rock comes in and is about to tick their yellow rock off, promoting it into the house and sitting just shy of the top 4 foot. Viewer Vicky G says hello to Austin, Texas. We're very glad to have you this morning. I understand that there's a new curling club down in Austin, and actually I believe there's a pretty big TikTok curler that curls out of the Austin Curling Club. So thank you very much for joining us at this early hour. I think it's 8:30 out there.
Yep.
Always glad to see some fresh new faces.
Yep, hold the line. All the way. Okay, whoa, 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 whoa.
And yet another successful raise from Cornell, pushing their yellow rock back just ever so slightly. Now it's sitting within the back 4 foot. Penn State might be able to manage the crotch shot. We'll see.
Draw in. Hip.
Looks like all of these teams are playing reasonably aggressive. Lots of stones at play, lots of stones in that within the 12 foot.
Go!
Certainly running back the other direction almost seems, though, maybe it's just the weight adjustment on the part of the athletes, but it certainly seems as though the ice is just wearing down a little bit from the body heat. You know, these early morning draws always start off with a bit of slow ice, but they tend to normalize fairly quickly. You know, to some extent, yes. Sometimes it's the running, sometimes it's just the running the stones back. It all adds up. Although for arena ice, I feel as though it's probably a little less sensitive to that because the ceilings are so high.
Absolutely. There's a lot of small adjustments between arena ice and dedicated ice. It's not just the surface. It's ice is thicker, larger volume of air in here. Ice is kept just a little bit warmer.
S-line.
I know dedicated ice usually keeps a internal temperature of a firm 70 degrees. Or sorry, 40.
Okay, whoa.
Right. You know, and I will say this about the folks who skate. Curlers come off as being much more snobbish about their ice than most sports.
Absolutely.
And it also makes for a convenient excuse because if you don't make your shot, you blame it on the ice.
Blame the holes from the figure skaters and the stop lines from the hockey players.
I will say the ice is impressively not gouged here at Pegula. Unfortunately, that can't be said for Hobie Baker at our home arena at Princeton. RPI has a packed house for themselves right now, sitting 3 over RIT, hoping to have a 4th join them. Following their rocks down and coming right in. It might push theirs back a little bit, but that is just a shy bit wide, and they'll have to settle for the back 12 foot.
Unfortunate, but it was a tough shot to make, and they still are sitting 2.
What a guard. Comes to here, that's cool.
Conspicuous lack of music this morning on the ice.
Yep. Yes, line.
Yeah, for those just tuning in, there is
All
an
the way.
aux cord that comes out of the wall at the ice arena, and we're able to pump in our own music. We usually use that for Sunday night leagues, but some of these earlier games actually had a soundtrack to them. It's a lot of fun.
Great shot.
And a good raise by Cornell splits the house slightly, but it still means that they are sitting 5 in the house. That's, do my eyes deceive me? They are sitting 5 right now.
I see what you see. That is incredible.
Button's wide open. It should make for a fairly easy takeout by PSU. Let's see if that's what they're thinking about. Indeed, it seems as though that's what their skip is setting up to do.
That appears to be it. A good skip, and in this case, a good vice. Better have the 4-foot ring in their back pocket as a play here. Because that 5 can very quickly become -1 if Penn State gets one in.
Indeed, and the problem here is, right, or actually to Penn State's benefit, because everything is so close to the button and you have so much room for a hit and roll, you can realistically just hit one of them and have them stay. But indeed, probably the more favorable one's the one closest to the button. that functions also very conveniently as a backstop. Oh, and they're just a little bit, but well, it's a little bit narrow there, but it certainly brings two closer into the house, and makes for a good takeout later on if they so desire.
And having shown their hand, Cornell attempts to plug that hole that Penn State just tried to exploit.
Sophie Legler, Penn Curling's first of two skips rocks, coming down the ice at a
It's fast.
fairly good clip. I think are they trying to do the promote? I can't seem to tell. Okay. And no. It's just a little bit shy, and it will not rub off the Navy stone.
Wow.
It is just a little bit too fast. Went a little bit too far. Navy still sits one.
Meanwhile, over in sheet one, Cornell attempts to sneak one in, and it looks like they're going to get it.
Well,
Unclear whether or not that is sitting for potentially 6, but 5 at the minimum.
either way makes for a pretty easy takeout, and if they're lucky, that can actually serve as the seedling for a double takeout. Let's see what Penn is managing. It seems as though they want a takeout of some sort. Let's see how far they can get with this one.
All right, it's good cadence on this next stone.
Coming down, the sweepers are moving furiously.
Don't blink, you'll miss it.
It's just a shy bit wide, but let's see. Let's do the count. It seems as though they've
knocks them down to
4.
4
It seems
potentially.
they've moved one
4
back.
likely, 5 potentially.
It does keep the left side fairly open with the exception of that one yellow stone blocking the path, but if they're able to hit that out on the outward side, they might be able to get the double takeout for the rock that's sitting just past the tee line.
Looks like Cornell is attempting to reinforce their position. It's a heavily defended house.
Still would be a very profitable end for Cornell nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Navy has come in, but they are just a shy bit wide. They're not going to get anything from that, but they are going to just have something set on the back, 12 foot thanks to that backstop over there. Not going to count, but they're still sitting 1 over Penn. Penn does have the luxury of hammer in this end. The Penn, Skip, and Vice are currently in conference with one another, hoping to get an open draw to the button. They are blue. They could also, if their weight control is just right, maybe do a raise on that blue rock sitting just forward of the top 4 foot.
We're looking at a very divided house. Blue's controlling the right side, yellow controlling the left. Appears that a raise is something we'd consider.
Cornell skip Brendan Polo bringing in reinforcements with his yellow rock. It's coming a little bit slow, but it will be a very good guard even if it doesn't make it into the house. Might actually even crash into that blue guy. This promoted it makes a raise from Penn State a little bit more difficult now. Folks, if you're just joining us this morning, we are live streaming the Happy Valley Bonspiel here at the inaugural Happy Valley Bonspiel here at the Pagula Ice Arena, hosted at Penn State University and State College, PA. We have the championship event. The time is currently 9:41, and with just under 70 minutes to go, it could still be anybody's game. Let's introduce the teams on the ice this morning. The A event finals lists on sheet 1 between Blue Rocks, PSU 1, Yellow Rocks, Cornell. The score is currently 2-0 in favor of Cornell. Sheet 2, Blue Rocks, Penn Nova, Yellow Navy 2. The score is 1-0 in favor of Navy 2. And on sheet 3, the score is 1-0 in favor of RPI. We have Blue Rocks, RIT, also from New York with the Yellow Rocks. This event is brought to you by broomfitters.com. Go on to broomfitters.com and use discount code Penn State to get your curling gear and support the Penn State curling program. This event is also sponsored by the generosity of Doggy's Pub, a favorite local hangout in downtown State College, PA. Streaming for this event is made possible by OBS and Blackmagic Design. Thank you for the latter for their generous support with AV. And last but not least, we appreciate you all for tuning in this morning. This is a very special event. This is Penn State's first. Penn State also being the largest curling team, not in the county, not in the state, not in the country, but in the world. One of the finest curling teams in the country today. We appreciate their generosity in bringing them to us this weekend. It certainly is a very memorable event for a lot of these players on the ice this morning, some of them being seniors. This will be their last spiel. I have to point out the Penn Nova team consisting of Sophie Legler and Wilma Downey of UPenn and Liam Woods, Joe Sullivan of Nova. They are a team of graduating seniors, and all four of them has distinguished themselves on the college circuit.
It's going to be sad to see him go. As a matter of fact, that team contains some national champions at the collegiate level.
We'll be keeping updated throughout the morning over the course as the game as it develops. My name is Brian Lee from Princeton University.
I'm Matt Anderson from Penn State University.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, second end scores are coming in. It appears that Navy is walking away with an extra point, bringing the score to 3 Navy, 0 Penn Nova. Penn State lining up their hammer shot, hoping to equalize a pretty imbalanced end. Cornell has a lot of stones in play.
Yeah. Away. Sweep away. Away. Sweep.
Bringing attention to sheet 1. Looks like it's wide. Unless they attempt to promote.
Unfortunately, I don't think that cuts them down very much. It still means 3 for Cornell, a very profitable end indeed for them.
It's better than 4. That's what they were looking at before.
It's very true. And indeed, they have the benefit of having the hammer going into the following end. Unfortunately, the hammer is a good thing to start with and not to keep.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
That does bring the score as of the end of the second end on sheet 1 to 5-0 in favor of Cornell over Penn State 1.
With that, all teams have concluded their second ends and are now on to the third.
Seems as though there hasn't been any change in the hammer. Hammer is retained by PSU 1, Penn Nova combined, and RIT. The scores on sheet 1, 5-0 Cornell, 3-0 on sheet 2, Navy 2, and 3-0 on sheet 3, RPI. Sheet 2 being the faster of the 3 sheets. Leads are lining up in the hack for sheets 1 and 3. Viewer Jay Ward asks, what is an end zero? There is no zeroth end. I believe it just means that there is that the score on that one team is 0 points. Case in point, the score box right now indicating 0 points for Penn State. An end is what we refer to as a division of play. Oh, end zero. That is actually very odd. What is that?
That appears to be a graphical update. Let's make that real quick.
Yes, let's fix that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. It appears as though we have something. Viewers pointed out to us that there's an end zero on the display here. See, thank you for pointing that out to us. We are much more enlightened as far as that goes. I think now you'll be able to see the updated ends. Thank you for pointing that out to us, Jay Ward.
And for those paying attention, this is a new streaming setup to the Penn State Curling Club, brought to you by OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, and Black Magic. They generously helped us out with a lot of AV equipment. It's our first time breaking it in, but it's a lot of fun. And hopefully it's going to bring you guys a good stream.
Sure thing, Jay Ward. Thanks very much. No, we wouldn't have caught that either, actually. So an end is a division of play here, and in most club events and most Bonspiels, we'll have a timer, which is out of the view for the viewers on our live stream, but certainly visible to all the players and commentators on the ice this morning. You know, national and very highly competitive tournaments, what you end up having is actually not the countdown system as we have right now, but rather a thinking time system for both teams. Usually have a 30-minute timer to get in 8 ends. And so that gives you, I believe, somewhere to the effect of 3 minutes 45 thinking time per end. That is designed to not penalize draw games, so games that rely more heavily on draws. Those tend to take a lot longer to play than hit games, where you have a nice stone moving down the ice fairly quickly. And the thinking time begins for one team when the other team's stone comes to rest, and ends when the delivering team's stone crosses the near tee line. We won't be following those rules here today. Those do require the support of a number of timekeepers who have their eyes glued to the ice. And we certainly are watching the games on the ice with great interest as we're moving now well into the second half of the third end on all sheets. Cornell hoping to take out one of Penn State's stones sitting on the top 8 foot. Let's see if they can get through the port. And wow. They do, and they knock it out.
Incredible.
Hit it nicely behind their guard, too. What a rock.
Oh, 2 stone widths between those front rocks for perspective.
Penn State's curling rocks are supplied by Brooms Up. They have yellow and blue rocks. Blue rocks being actually a bit of a rarity, at least in my experience. I'm used to playing with red and blue and occasionally green rocks. Vicky G from Austin, Texas, points out to us that Jenny, the RPI vice, is a senior. We certainly tip our hats to all the seniors on the ice this morning who have played wonderfully, and certainly RPI is no exception to that, and we wish them all the very best.
While we're on the topic, this game has a lot of seniors in it, and it will be a lot of their last appearances too. The curling season does not perfectly coincide with the academic year, so while this is the last event of the academic year in the last year for a lot of these seniors on these teams, it is one of the first games of the curling season, with points counting towards next year's nationals.
Skip Brock's on sheet 2, first of 2 for Sophie Legler. Coming down, let's see what the situation is right now. It seems as though yellow is sitting 1, but
That
should make for
to be the case.
makes for a fairly easy takeout. Joe is lined up nicely there. Sophie would look like has a fairly straightforward shot to make. A little bit tight, but just the shyest bit narrow. It's not the end of the world, in my opinion.
Meanwhile, on sheet 3, looks to be a close one. Not sure who's sitting because of the perspective. We'll update you with scores at the end of the end.
My apologies, Vicky. Jenai of RPI is a graduating senior. And though she won't be with us next year, she's certainly helping her teammates get a head start on next year's qualifying points.
That's absolutely right. The road to nationals begins here, a little under a year in advance.
Well, this got us a little bit nervous for here at Princeton because we haven't done very well this weekend.
Man.
Look at the way that the scoring point system works for nationals is I believe you still get points if you lose. So.
Not nearly as many.
Modest points, but points nonetheless, and we'll take what we can get. Beggars need not be choosers. Vicky G also points out Claire, skipping for the RPI team in red over there on the far end, is a graduating master's student. We do have a number of graduate students actually playing in college curling. Claire certainly distinguished herself as one of the finest curlers, both undergraduate and graduate. RPI has had a very strong program. Wilma Downey, by the way, playing for the Penn Nova combined team, is an RPI alum, currently pursuing a master's degree at the University of Pennsylvania. Trained with the Evan Mulaney dynasty out there.
The legendary Evan Mulaney.
Indeed, Claire, I believe, traveled with her team very recently to see the Men World Championships in Canada, where they got themselves a pair of brand spanking new curling pants, and indeed they've certainly been something I've had my eye on for a time, but I've just never had the occasion to purchase. Absolutely, yeah, those pants are amazing. You know what's interesting? Jacob Lorelli of RPI also is known for his pants game. He's one of the few college curlers to curl in shorts.
It's very respectable. Now, it usually gets it's cold on the ice, but once you get into the heat of things, once you find a cadence, you usually start to sweat a little bit. So hopefully he's not freezing his buns off.
Oh, absolutely. You'll notice that the players over the course of the game sometimes, especially those on the front end with all that sweeping, are going to be shedding layers.
Penn State attempting the thread, and they stick it. Wow.
Goes right in. Will it stick? Oh, they probably need to get the brims up. No, just fine. That sweeping will do quite nicely. The Blue Rock is sitting just over the button.
Fantastic. It appears that Penn State and Cornell have been playing between those two front stones a lot of accuracy in this third end. A testament to the skill of some of these vices and skips.
Sophie Legler of the Penn Nova combined team throwing her hammer last rock, coming in and hoping to take out one of the yellows.
Let's see it.
Hard, she says. They need it a little bit. They need to get it all the way there. Clears it, and And it gets rid of it. Gets rid of it. No, it looks like it's around to stick around, and it looks like
2 for
Vices,
yellow, potentially.
yes, 2 for yellow. The Vices are currently in conference.
A little early to tell, but it looks like this is
They've called for a
yellow team
laser.
game.
They've called for the laser.
Very interesting. For those watching at home, there is a laser rangefinder that we will use for shots that are a little too close to tell. Goes into the center of the house and will precisely range to the second decimal point the distance between those stones and the center of the house, used for difficult situations like this. Our laser measure is brought to you by Home Depot, where we bought the laser, and Penn State College of Engineering for assembling that out of a Target white storage bin and a bunch of zip ties. We'll update you with the results of this measure shortly. Looks to be Blue's stone. We'll confirm. All right, Blue is sitting. Blue team, which is Penn Nova, is going to walk away with that stone sitting. Very close to call, but the laser confirms it.
I find that the wobbly stick is more entertaining, but the laser indeed is more accurate.
Now, the wobbly stick was funny. I first saw that through the viewfinder. I thought we had a camera issue, but very much is an ergonomic device.
We'll get back to you with third end scores momentarily.
I like top of the house, cigar too, okay?
Are starting to come back. Penn State, or sorry, Cornell, bringing their game to 6-0, scoring 1 in that third end.
Yeah, try to bring it, we'll get a guard out there.
Sheet 2 yet to update their score. Looks to either be 3-1 or 3-2, depending on the state of play at the end of that end. And Sheet 3 also yet to update their score. We'll let you know as soon as that is decided. Actually, looks like Sheet 3 is still playing it out.
Joking it out. We get a close-up there on that rock as it comes in, hoping to have a few friends in there, but unfortunately it's just a little bit light there, and I think they'll have to settle for 2.
Yeah,
No. It's probably just 1, actually. There's a blue sitting there on the other side. Always forget about the...
Oh, it appears that we have another measure coming over on Sheet 3. Another end too close to tell. We like it that way. It keeps it exciting.
All right, a little more weight. Come right down to it, or we can tap it back. But I want it in the house.
And with the measure on Sheet 3. Reminder, blue is RPI, yellow is RIT.
How's the weight? Yeah, we need to curl a bit.
Our on-ice analysts have deduced that blue gets the end. That is RPI walking away with points.
Good try.
Bringing us now to the near end of the ice. Teams are now moving into their fourth ends. play is just beginning on these first two sheets.
Go this way. Put it
Penn
back
State
right
calling
here.
for a guard. They have one in play. They intend to keep it. Looks like they're more interested in staying on the board for this end, trying to turn the game around in their favor as they are currently down 6-0 against Cornell.
Rob, yes.
Penn State's guard was a little hot, replacing that stone in the center, kicking one to the back of the house, both still counting. Sheet 2, currently Yellow's game. Looks like they have a very defensible stone in that 4-foot, and attempting to reinforce that further. That would be, Navy with the yellow stone, Penn attempting to dislodge it.
All the way right to it. All right, look. Good shot. Way to go.
While I fill out the scores and update the scores on the scoreboard, Matt is going to regale you with a story of how the Penn State laser measure came to be.
I am so glad you asked. As mentioned before, that was before hosting a spiel, we needed a way to more accurately measure stones, and as such, we've had a lot of close ends. But that is a Home Depot laser rangefinder mounted on a white plastic box from Target, zip tied together. It's worked so far, so good.
Same thing.
Anyway, the third end scores are in. The score as it currently stands. On sheet 1, 6-0 in favor of Cornell. Penn State 1 enters the fourth end with hammer. On sheet 2, the score is 4-0 in favor of Navy 2. UPenn Nova enters the fourth end with hammer. And on sheet 3, RIT versus RPI. RPI leads with 4. RIT has none. You know, it seems as though none of the teams that have scored that didn't score in the first end. It seems as though only the same teams have been scoring throughout these first 4 ends, and with just over 45 minutes left on the clock, just over half of the game time left, I can imagine that some of these skips on the trailing teams are certainly feeling the heat now.
Absolutely right. Game is far from over, but looking at these scores, might end up with a couple of blowout games.
And certainly from a strategic point of view, this would lead to some shifts, hopefully, on the skips part. The strategy, of course, changes, right? You can be yes, it does, Vicky. There's a small, very, very small hole in the button. And there's a very, very small nail on the laser measure into which it goes. And so that's allows us to keep it nice and anchored. And it's actually, surprisingly, it's just a Home Depot measuring device that they have. You can buy a measuring stick, which is not as precise, but a little bit more analog, a little bit more old school from Canada Curling Supplies, something to the tune of maybe $700.
That's a lot of money. I don't know how much the laser was, but the measuring stick, almost surgical looking, this giant metal instrument with a needle gauge on it.
And it wobbles back and forth. You rub it over the front of the stone, and you see how much it displaces the needle. Wobbles a little bit. And that's able to generally provide you with a decent mark, but in the event that it doesn't work, you bring out the laser measure, and certainly with the laser measure, it's not as fun, but certainly more accurate. Indeed, the apparatus that Penn State uses here makes for a very amusing and entertaining piece of technology to introduce onto the ice. Curling is a low-tech game, but every so often you realize you're in the 21st century. As we're saying, for the skips now, the leading team, certainly if you're leading by 4 or more points, there needs to be a little bit of a strategy change. You begin to switch towards a hit game. You know, if one stone lands it in the house, you're going to hit that stone out. Actually, at this point, it might even be advantageous for some teams who are leading heavily, such as Cornell, to be not only not getting rocks in the house, but rather to shoot them through altogether. At this point, for teams that are leading by a healthy margin, any stone that remains in play is a stone that can benefit the other team, either as a guard or a backstop. You know, I've seen games, people blow up big leads, 8-point leads, 7-point leads, by not, unfortunately, using that strategy, but still continue to play, drawing around the other stones, etc., instead of hitting them out and not giving them anything to hide behind or use as a backstop. I don't know if that's what Cornell seems to be doing, but they're seeming to get their stones fairly clean, and they're going to manage a double takeout. And of course, for the trailing team, it is very tempting to play along and to engage them in the hit game, but that is exactly the trap they want you to fall into. You got to keep up the strategy of drawing things in, keeping the house packed as much as you can, hoping that their hits miss. Otherwise, you're not going to, at most, get 1 or 2 points per end. And then Hammer transfers over to the other team, and they're just going to reciprocate and get a point or 2 as well. You can't close that deficit.
Now, contrary to what you'd expect, just like you heard already, throwing stones really fast is actually a conservative way to play. Keeping that house clear when you're up is the conservative thing to do. So while it might look aggressive, Cornell's actually playing a really safe game right here.
Fair enough, and you know, I bet dollars to donuts that you're going to get a hit game from Cornell here as well. Just going to get rid of that blue rock.
How much money are you going to put on that?
I don't make enough.
Yeah, for a nice juicy target in the center of the house, I don't think that's sticking around.
And I think Cornell, you know, it's not the end of the world for them if they lose a point here.
Not at all. That gives them hammer.
Exactly. You know, they can. But the objective is to force them down to 1. You don't want them to get more than 1 or 2 points when they're playing this strategy.
Real quick, over to sheets 2 and 3. Lots more, a little more technical of a game. It appears that Navy is currently sitting 1 on sheet 2, and over on sheet 3, it looks like RPI is currently sitting 1, if not 2.
And as expected, you get the hit and roll. You know, for Cornell, actually, even though that was fairly lined up, you actually want the shooter stone, the shooter that's used to hit out the blue stone, to roll slightly to the sides. Because, again, you don't want people to be able to hide behind that or use that as a backstop. So when you're starting off, in this case, you're usually wanting to go for a corner draw rather than a draw to the button or a center guard.
For a game with very simple rules, there is a lot of thinking that goes behind every single one of these shots and every one of these calls.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you can be a good curler and not lose if you don't have good strategy, and vice versa. And I've seen too many teams, unfortunately, fall into being strong in one of those two things and flounder in the other realm. And of course, not to mention there is the 5th player on the ice at all given times, and that is the ice itself. Reading the ice is truly one of the marks of a good skip.
Over to sheet 3, it looks like RIT's not playing around. Dislodging RPI center stone, currently sitting 1. Not very defensible right now, so let's see if they can maintain that sitting position.
And it seems as though Penn State and Cornell both have 1 stone left. That stone failed to take it out. If anything, just rolled it just past a little bit. If they end up, it seems as though I can't really see a situation where they get more than 1 here, unless Brendan mixes this next shot. He's very strong with his hit game, so I find that to be somewhat unlikely. Let's see what the deal is on sheet 2. Joe Sullivan lining up for skip Sophie Legler with the first of her 2 skips to stones, hoping to take and maybe roll onto the button with that yellow rock sitting just forward of the top 8 foot on the side there.
All right, here
and
it
the
comes.
rock is coming in. It's just a shy bit narrow, misses, and takes out one of their backstops.
Unfortunate. Looks to be the right play call, but just a little bit narrow of their target.
I must say, for a team that practices on arena ice, both of those teams, dedicated ice, my apologies, both of those teams are having stellar performances this weekend. Certainly at Princeton, we thought we would have an advantage coming in because we practice on the worst of the worst arena ice, but that didn't pan out at all, now did it?
Well, as you said, the ice is a player involved too, so you got to learn to play with them. Either be your teammate or an opponent, depending on how you choose to handle it.
Freeze run. Yep.
And the Yellow Rock comes in ever so slightly, giving itself a little friend there. Froze to it with maybe maybe it's not a perfect freeze, but there's a 1 point gap, 1 inch gap there. Because they're lined up so tightly, it does make a takeout a little bit more difficult. If they are just a little bit on the outside, they might be able to do a peel on both of them, but it will need a fair amount of force. It will need to curl in at just the right angle in order to get both of them out. Otherwise, it won't be very useful at all. A Navy Rock on sheet 2 having gone just the slightest bit too far. Penn State Vice Rob lined up there for skip Alex Scott to come on down, and indeed he steps off the hack. It's coming in tight, but not too fast. Sweeping to line it up. The line seems good. The weight seems good. It's coming a little bit narrow in my opinion, but it's hard to tell from this angle. It's going to nose it, I think. Nose it. And it rolls, but just not enough on that first one. Cornell will get 1 point from this. That concludes the fourth end on sheet 1. The score currently 7-0 in favor of Cornell. Penn State retains 1 point moving forward. I'm sorry, Penn State retains hammer moving forward. Meanwhile, on sheet 2, Sophie Legler's in conference with her vice, Joe Sullivan, looking at the field of play here. It seems as though they have an open draw to the button, which they may well attempt here. They may also attempt a hit on that, rub off on that Yellowstone on the right side of the sheet, although it's a little bit too far back, in my opinion, to make for an effective hit and roll. God forbid it roll just a little bit too much. Indeed, it seems though that's what they're doing. Nonetheless, Joe Sullivan's lined up on the inside of that Yellow Rock, hoping for a hit and roll. If they manage to hit that right on and not even roll, I think they would still be able to get 2 from that. Indeed, 2 points is certainly a recoverable deficit. Okay, Sophie Legler-Stone comes down fast on the ice, sweeping hard. The line is good. The line is excellent. Is it going to hit the rail rock? Oh, and it just misses by a hair. Looks to me as though that is either 1 or 3 Navy Rocks. Hard to tell. Oh, goodness. This is giving me goosebumps.
We will update you with scores for this fourth end shortly. Actually, was that the fifth end?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's the fourth end.
All right. It appears that Navy's walking away with 1 point in that fourth end.
We are almost at the point where there's 1 rock left on sheet 3. It does seem at the present moment that RPI is not sitting 1, but RIT is. But they have a fairly straightforward takeout there, in my opinion. Doesn't seem to be anything including it.
Absolutely. Lots of things in play in the front of that, right front of that house, but not on the left-hand side. And it looks like RPI is planning on exploiting that open left side.
And even if they are narrow, they might narrow, but if they are just a slightest bit light, they should be able to manage a good tap back on that. Blue Rock sitting just on the top 12 there, but the Rock is coming in fast in the line. They seem content with. They're not sweeping at all. Rock is coming in past the hog line, slowing down, missing the guard.
Looks on target.
Looks on target indeed. And is it going to hit the blue rock, yellow rock out? Yes,
Wow,
it does. And
nice
they managed
shot.
to get a 2-point end for RPI on sheet 3. This concludes the fourth end on all sheets.
Brought to you by Claire, the skip from RPI. Another beautiful shot. And they're going to be walking away with 2 points.
And once again, it seems as though the teams, unfortunately, the trailing teams have not been able to catch up at all in this end on all 3 sheets. Matt, would you care to update the audience with the score, please?
Of course. In this fifth end, we are currently looking at 7-0 Cornell up against Penn State on sheet 1 for our A event. On our sheet 2, we have, checking the score, we have 5 points in Navy's favor, 0 to UPenn Nova, and that is our C event. Over on sheet 3, we now have 6 for RPI against RIT's 0.
With our RIT has hammer. Yes, they do. RIT does indeed have hammer. Oh, RIT, apologies. RIT has one more. No, they have one more rock, actually. Unfortunately, it does not make it, so the score stands. But they do retain hammer going to the fifth end.
That's a good call. It was a little presumptuous.
Apologies.
Forgot that RIT had hammer there.
It's hard to see from this angle, unfortunately. I wish we were actually on the upper level where we actually could have a clear view of the entire field of play. Eyes on the clock now, just under 32 minutes. 30 minutes, I think we're budgeting about 15 minutes per end here, if I'm not mistaken, planning on playing 6 ends, potentially more if needed. The game remains tight on sheet 2 and 3. A 4-point lead is, a 5-point deficit is by no means tragic. It's by all means recoverable. Again, like I've said so many times, I've played on teams that have blown 7- and 8-point leads. Let's hope they play their cards right. Seems though now sheet 1 is the more expedient of the 3 sheets. Indeed, they peel off a blue rock, but there's one more back there. I feel as though that's counting that. Well, actually, no, I think blue is sitting 1 as of right now.
Looks a little close to tell because of the perspective here, but it appears that it's still anyone's game at this point for this end.
Seconds. Second rock from Cornell delivering here. Weight is reasonable, it seems. It's hard to use a timer here to gauge. And the rock is moving ever so gingerly down the ice. He might actually end up as a guard and might crash into that cluster of blue rocks. And it's just the slightest bit slow, and it will end shy of the house. Blue rock coming in, meanwhile, on sheet 2. Coming in. It's a little bit fast. I've noticed with this ice, it doesn't really decelerate in the house, and Quinn from Navy is going to attempt to get rid of that by pulling it out, and it's just going to sit, not all the way out, but it's going to sit on the back 12. A very nice backstop for UPenn there. Meanwhile, on sheet 3, we have a delivery from RIT coming into a fairly sparse-looking house.
It is very early in this end. They spent a little extra time on the final shots. It's a pretty close fourth end, so they took their time with it. They are just beginning their fifth end now.
And they rub and split the house. Yellow rock rubs off their other yellow rock. It seems as though on sheet 2 they've split the house, which makes it for a pretty good backstop. They can follow that down, and even if they take it out, I think they have enough backing such that it's not going to go too far. Brennan Polo is hoping that the rock does not hog, yelling furiously at his sweepers, but the rock hogs nonetheless. But I think Cornell can give up that rock. Won't make too much of a difference to them. Pullman Downey, meanwhile, coming down sheet 2 with that beautiful, gorgeous tuck slide of his, blue rock. Hoping, I think, to take out a yellow rock, not to come in too heavy, just wanted to sit there and potentially stick.
Appears to be closer to draw weight than anything. Let's see where it ends up landing.
It seems to be a little bit light, and it is over curling, it would seem. and it does not make it into the house. It just sits shy of the top 12 there. Well, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. If you're just joining us, my name is Brian Lee of Princeton University.
And I am Matt Anderson of Penn State University.
Very glad for you all to join us this morning as we watch the final draw of the inaugural 2023 Happy Valley Bonspiel, hosted by Penn State University at the one and only Pegula Ice Arena in State College, PA. A shout out to our generous sponsors, broomfitters.com. For all your curling needs and swag, go to broomfitters.com and use discount code Penn State to support the Penn State curling team, the largest team not in the county, not in the state, not in the country, but the largest college curling team in the world. Also been helped out by Doggy's Pub in downtown State College, PA. They supplied a wonderful pizza dinner for us last night. OBS and Black Magic Design have lent their assistance for the AV for this event. And earlier on this draw, we had a rousing rendition of Scotland the Brave on the bagpipes by Drew Von Tisch of the Nittany Highlands Band. Check them out on Facebook and Google. Allow me to introduce the teams on the ice this morning. On sheet 1, Blue Rocks Penn State 1 and Yellow Rocks Cornell vying for the A event championship title. On sheet 2, we have Blue Rocks Penn Nova combined. On yellow, Navy 2. On sheet 3, we have Blue Rocks RPI. And on yellow, RIT. A little bit about each of these teams. Penn State is skipped by Alex Gott. Their vice, Rob Chappell, is the one of the 2 inaugural winners of the Bobby Torres Award for an outstanding first-year curler. You would not be able to tell that he's been curling on the ice for so little time. Brought in by the 11th hour for a travel event, sporting his new broom that he won as part of this prize. Cornell, meanwhile, skipped by the one and only Brendan Polo, who curls out of the Bucks County Curling Club, a graduating senior who has led a successful team on a successful season. On sheet 2, the Penn Nova combined team, consisting of 4 seniors, familiar faces on the college circuit, indeed some of the finest in the country. Skip Sophie Legler, along with her colleague Wilma Downey of UPenn, and her counterparts from Villanova on the same team, Vice Joe Sullivan and Liam Woods. Navy 2, coached by the one and only Lieutenant Commander Jim Fallon, physics instructor at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. They curl out of the Potomac Curling Club. A newcomer to the college team, but they certainly have a lot of experience, and don't let their white outfits, crisp white outfits and pins fool you. They are a lethal team on the ice. Meanwhile, on sheet 3, we have RPI and RIT, a showdown between New York State's finest teams. Had the privilege of commentating a afternoon draw yesterday with Will Trimble. Leo there had a wonderful conversation with him, actually in Portuguese. His family is from Brazil. And from RPI, we have the one and only Claire skipping for the team, a graduating master's student. I also want to shout out Jenai, who is a graduating senior as well. Both of them some of the most excellent curlers, and RPI retained a first place position going into nationals earlier this year in Bowling Green, Ohio. Pardon the wobbling on the camera there. Our President Emeritus for Penn State, Sam Futch, is just getting the angle lined up properly.
Trying to get a better view of that far house for sheet 3.
Boy, it's freezing out here, isn't it? Yeah.
It's chilly in here. Not as cold as some of these dedicated clubs, but certainly brisk in here at the community rink at the Pegula Ice Arena in State College, Pennsylvania.
You know, I will say getting a pair of curling shoes was probably one of the best investments I've made as a college curler. Not because I'm able to slide around easier now, but in fact, it just keeps me warmer. I used to curl in Vans, and those things are thin. Those things are thin, and my feet, yeah, oh my goodness. You know, I felt cold, but wearing Vans on curling ice is a whole different ballgame. Sam Futch mentions to me that I should be thanking my blessings. I should be counting my blessings. The cords are long enough such that I'm actually able to sit off the ice in the stands. God forbid I be let to stand on the ice. I think I would be glued to the ice and would need to be chipped out at the end of this draw.
So it is worth noting that while this is our first home Bonspiel, this is not Penn State's first time streaming games. They would stream their weeknight IM league games. That was using a laptop, a little AV switcher, and a couple borrowed cameras. So having a lot of this AV tech here is a big upgrade.
I think it's worth mentioning, like Matt said, that Penn State's curling club and the new Happy Valley Curling Club is not only a Penn State team, the club curling. Jenny. There we go, Jenny. So my apologies. We got that. Apologies for having butchered Jenny's name. Jenny from RPI there, who is a graduating senior. She is the RPI vice. Thank you, Vicky G, for correcting me, and my apologies for having butchered that name earlier. Appreciate you reminding and correcting me there. This is only my second time commentating, and I think this will be the second and last time they let me in the commentator's box.
Oh, man.
Whoa, that's a packed house on sheet one. You look away for a second there, and it just misses. But it does look as though Cornell is sitting one there. It is guarded up by that Blue Rock, so that's going to be a little more difficult to take out than otherwise, but certainly it's feasible.
It appears so. Very different than this last end we saw played out.
Yes.
That was a very conservative one versus this has a lot of stones in play.
And as we see here, it seems as though they have agreed upon a score. We'll update you on that momentarily. Meanwhile, we still have rocks left on sheet 2 and 3. Sophie Legler of Penn Nova combined is delivering her first of 2 skips rocks. Let's see the situation on the house on sheet B, shall we?
B shall.
Looks as though Navy is sitting one, but it makes for a fairly straightforward takeout. They could run that back, although there is, and gets out of view here. There is a yellow guard.
Actually,
out front. There's a very high yellow guard.
Looks like it might be more than that. Potentially 2, maybe 3 Yellowstones sitting.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice there was a cluster there. You're right. It's hard to see from this angle, but yeah, there's a cluster of yellow handles there. It's going to be hard to break it up. I think Penn at most can manage 1 or 2 here, and maybe one of their first options is to peel off that. Oh, we send greetings to our 21 viewers. We've been just told that there are 21 people watching the live stream right now. We send a very good morning to you all this Sunday morning. The time is now 10:30, and with 20 minutes on the clock.
Wow.
The games are fairly
shot.
set, but miracles do happen, and as the magicians Penn and Teller say, 1,000,000 to 1 odds happen 8 times a day in New York City.
So, quick update. That was a beautiful shot over on our sheet 2 from Penn, but it doesn't look like it's enough to dislodge that Navy stone sitting in the forefront. Real quick, over to sheet 3.
All the way as close as you can get it.
Hot and heavy, straight through the house, unfortunately, for RPI. Missing their mark. Just a little too fast, and it kept its line as such.
A center line guard for Cornell they've opted for on sheet 1. Preparing RIT's skip stones over there on sheet 3. Scores are currently being updated on sheet 2. We'll provide you with that momentarily. Skip Brendan Polo of Cornell updating the score for Cornell as well. Oh, no, he's just taking a drink of water. I will ask them to update the score momentarily. We'll provide you with a score update momentarily. The scores are also current on the live stream. Look at the lower third graphics there. The first of two RIT skip rocks having come out of sheet 3. Let's see what they're trying to do there. I believe they are sitting, no, blue is sitting 1, so RPI is sitting 1. I think it's coming in a little bit slow.
Looks like it.
But it does not hog. Or it does, actually. It might be sitting right there on the hog line. It's hard to tell from this. Yeah, unfortunately.
It appears like they could read that rock was going a little slow, chose not to sweep it in hopes of hogging it to get it out of the way of their final stone. Looks like they wanted to keep that avenue open.
Sam is currently in the men's room. Is the mic on? Oh, dear. Oh, no, it was. Oh, well, at any rate. How loose is the hack? I think, yeah, might be just cosmetic. Would you mind helping them out? Cool. There's some technical difficulties on one of the sheets, though one of the far hacks appears to be coming loose. Meanwhile, Penn, Sophie Legler comes in with her hammer, second of 2 skip stones. Let's see what she's doing. It's going to clear the guard. It's going to move the blue rock in. It's going to move the blue rock in. It's, oh dear, it's just a little bit wide on the run back there. And Navy scores, I believe. Oh goodness, that could be a big end for them. We'll see how much that gets them. Sophie Legler having put up a valiant effort there on that ice, but this ice is just unfortunately much too difficult to deal with. It really can get a bit much lately. At any rate, RIT is setting up for their skips. Last stone, hammer stone of the 5th end. Let's see what they have in store. It appears as though they just want to do it. Takeout, not a little bit wider on the brim there, so maybe it's not coming in too fast. They would ideally want it to hit and stick. The angle, though, they have to keep an eye on. It's hard to get it on the inside, but if they get it on the outside, they want it to push it straight back. Or they might actually be attempting to raise their yellow rock. That's a possibility that I have not personally considered. Hoping it hits it right on the nose, and unfortunately, it will be insufficient. Okay, and I believe that concludes the 5th end on sheet 3. The score, as of right now, is yet to be updated, but we will have that for you momentarily. Navy is updating the score on sheet 2. The score is now 6-0 on sheet 2 in favor of Navy. 2 Penn Nova combined have yet to score. Once RIT is able to update the score, we'll provide that to you in one fell swoop. Stay tuned.
We're a little outside. It's okay. G-line's good. Okay. Just let it cook for a second. Who's going to follow? Oh, this looks fantastic. Oh, wait! Draw away twice. Oops. Maybe a little bit heavier. Good try. Real close. Get it in the house. Right there.
just making some lunch plans here in the commentator's box. Anyway, we have scores for all sheets at the conclusion of the fifth end, and they are as follows.
On sheet 1 for our A event, looks like it is 9 Cornell to Penn State 0. Sheet 2, which appears to be our C event final, that is 6 Navy to 0 UPenn Nova. And on sheet 3, RPI sitting 6 to RIT 0.
Alex Scott of Penn State on sheet 1, contemplating, still contemplating, holding his stomach as though possibly suffering from indigestion.
Look at him contemplating. Looks like they want to play the front of that house. Probably they can't directly draw and hit that Cornell stone, so it looks like they're planning on also trying to drop the button.
Navy on sheet 2, throwing a heavy draw, hoping to sit on Penn Nova stone. They're touching the button inside the 4.
Looks like it might. Penn State's draw, a little fast, but a little tap back on Cornell stone. On ice report is that Penn Nova is currently sitting 1 on sheet 2.
Bounce off the ridge first. All right, yep. Nice shot. Nice and sweet. Heavy draw. Bring it around town. Bring it around town.
State College yesterday was absolutely, having an opportunity to see the downtown area. Princeton's a college town and all that, but State College is a college town. Well, folks, if you're just tuning in, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brian Lee from Princeton University.
And I am Matt Anderson from Penn State University.
We're in the commentator's box this morning as we watch the final draw of the inaugural 2023 Happy Valley Bonspiel, hosted at the one and only Pagula Ice Arena in State College, PA. Our hosts, our gracious hosts, mind you, are the curlers at the Pennsylvania State University. President James Dunn and President Emeritus Sam Futch.
We're going to promote this one.
This game, this weekend of curling, has been brought to you thanks to the generosity of Broomfitters. Go to broomfitters.com for all your curling needs and use discount code Penn State for a discount and to support the PSU curling team. Doggy's Pub, a State College PA institution, provided food for us last night, and we appreciate their support very, very much. Drew Von Tisch of the Nittany Highlands Pipe Band provided us with a rousing rendition of Scotland the Brave to pipe us in for the championship final. Streaming services for this Bonspiel are brought to you by OBS and Blackmagic Design. The latter generously provided AV equipment for us. We appreciate Pagula Ice Arena for letting them use our space this weekend. And on behalf of a very grateful set of curlers, we do appreciate the hospitality of Penn State. You can follow the Penn State curling team at CurlingPSU on Instagram. The curling program and this spiel are supported in part by the student-initiated fee at the Pennsylvania State University.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. We value your viewership. We value our sponsors. And hopefully everyone's enjoying the Happy Valley hospitality here in State College.
Currently look at N6, the situation right now. Seems though Yellow Rocks are taking the control. Oh, with the exception of Sheet 2 just now. Yellow Rock is taking control on Sheet 1 with one sitting just on the 4-foot line over there in the house. On Sheet 2 we have a Blue Rock that just inched just a little bit forward within the 4-foot on the T line. Blue on Sheet 2 being Penn Nova, and on Sheet 3 we have 2 Yellow Rocks in the house and a Blue Biter off in the corner.
Yeah, for a change of pace on Sheet 3, this appears to be RIT's game for now. Let's see if they're able to maintain that position in the house.
In the meantime, let's introduce the players. On Sheet 1, the A Event Championship Final, we have Blue Rocks Penn State 1 with their home court advantage and Yellow Team Cornell, skipped by Brendan Polo Sr. The score at present, 9-0 in favor of Cornell. On Sheet 2, the C Event Championship Final between the Penn Nova combined team with Blue Rocks and Yellow Handles Navy 2. The score right now, 6-0 in favor of Navy. Navy, though they are new to the college circuit, by no means underestimate them. They are powerhouses on the ice. They curl out of the Potomac Curling Club, and their coach is Lieutenant Commander Jim Fallon of the United States Naval Academy, physics instructor. Blue Rocks Penn Nova, we have a distinct team, an all-star team, if you will, comprised of Skip Sophie Legler of UPenn and Wilma Downey, a graduating master's student. Both of them are seniors. Unfortunately, will be taking their final bows at this Bonspiel on the college circuit. Liam Woods and Vice Joe Sullivan representing the Nova half of the Penn Nova combined team. They too are at their final college spiel, and all 4 of them have established themselves as some of the finest curlers we know today in U.S. college curling. Meanwhile, on Sheet 3, we have RPI and RIT for a match between the 2 New York powerhouses. Blue Rocks RPI. RPI came in ranked first at Nationals this year at Bowling Green. Vicky G is supporting the RPI team from Austin, Texas. Jenny, the RPI Vice, is a graduating senior, and the Claire, skipping for the folks in red, is graduating with a master's degree this spring. We send them our heartfelt congratulations and fond farewells as they take to the great beyond. I bet they'll be curling for the rest of their lives, though. Curling is, after all, a lifestyle, not just a sport. RIT, meanwhile, I had the privilege of commentating with Will Trimble, who's running down the ice with his counterpart Leo. A wonderful team that we very much enjoy. Cameron Monroe actually used to curl with my Princeton skip, Laura Katz, along with Jacob. A lot of established figures and new faces on college curling. Truly is what makes this sport so special, and that is the spirit of amateurism and the spirit of friendly competition, i.e. the spirit of curling, that we have felt so warmly this weekend and throughout the season. Vicky G from Austin, Texas sends regards to Claire on the ice there. Claire's mom says Ellen will be sure to let her know after the game that she's been watching with the greatest of interest as RPI once again shows just what they're made of as they lead RIT 7-0.
Listen, RPI is a very powerful team. I remember starting curling as a freshman. This was during Evan Mullaney's reign as a powerhouse on the ice. He was an extremely talented curler and did a lot for that team.
You know, it's worth mentioning that on the Penn Nova combined team, Wilma Downey is actually a master's student. He did his undergraduate work at RPI and was very much a part of the Evan Mullaney dynasty. And Evan Mullaney, of course, is a friend not only to RPI and MIT and the Harvard teams. Indeed, he is a friend to all on the college circuit, along with his associate Kelsey Becker, who coaches the MIT team. It's indeed wonderful to see so many alumni stick around and offer their expertise to us budding curlers. I curled a little bit as a kid, but I started back up in college, and this has been the Princeton team's first year on the ice formally. We did quite nicely for ourselves at Nationals. We're very glad to have taken home the silver, losing, of course, to Penn State. Sorry, my apologies to UPenn, skipped by Sophie Legler, and what a hard-earned victory on their part that was indeed. The Penn team placed second last year, and what a great way for them to close out their senior year.
That's a great segue. It seems like the theme of tonight is really growing the game. The whole philosophy between hosting a home spiel for Penn State, the streaming setup is really about, broadcasting, sharing the game, sharing our story, and sharing how far this club has gone, as well as all the other clubs we've seen too. It's really about getting the game out there, and it's the curling really brings people together. Seriously, we're very much in the middle of nowhere here in State College, but a lot of people were able to come out this weekend. We really appreciate them coming. We appreciate you guys watching. So thanks for tuning in.
It's lawn parties at Princeton University. It's our biannual music festival. They brought in Waka Flocka, but there's no place I'd rather be than to say my farewells to some of the seniors and indeed see some new and old faces. I've met a lot of folks here that I'm looking forward to seeing in the fall.
If the timing lined up, you might have seen Waka Flocka here. He actually performs at Champ Sports Bar downtown. He was here last year, I believe.
He is quite well known to the college circuit, I'll give him that. And indeed, college town like State College is no exception to his talents. Anyway, let's see where the stones are falling right now. It seems as though Penn State has an excellent opportunity to peel two stones, and they hit him right in the middle there.
Wow,
meanwhile, on sheet 2, Navy is coming down with a rock to add to their collection there. I think they might be able to inch out that blue rock, but they may have just overswept slightly. Nope, but it will sit 1 for them, and that is sufficient.
Real quick, over to sheet 1. Let's see if they stick it.
Oh, and it's just a little bit wide, but, that will do the trick, though. That will do the trick. Penn State looks like they're, it's hard to tell. They might need to actually bring out the laser for that one. Or actually, no, Penn State's just sitting a little bit forward. Yeah, I think they're just out a little bit. I think that's a 1 for Cornell there.
Currently waiting for the vice side. Looks like they picked it.
And we have handshakes on sheet 1. The final score is 10-0 in favor of Cornell. Cornell has won the A event skipped by Brendan Polo. A valiant effort by Penn State nonetheless. We'll begin with some brief interviews now with the championship teams.
Cornell was on the ball that entire game. They kept, they played aggressively when they needed to, conservatively when they needed to. Overall, it was amazing to watch.
But it's not over yet because we have 2 very exciting games still going on sheets 2 and 3.
Absolutely. On sheet 2, looks like Penn's hammer. Penn Nova with the hammer.
Sophie Legler is coming out hoping to sit their rock right there in the middle, peel it. The line looks kind of hot and a little bit off. Oh dear, it's going to crash in, but is it? Oh, unfortunately not. The clock has run out at the conclusion of end 6.
Wow.
We'll see what they have to do, whether or not they might be playing an additional end. We'll see. Sophie Legler makes her way down the ice. They are corralling their rocks over to behind the near side hacks. Hot, hot, hot. Hot damn. Don't eat dotted ham.
But real quick over the commentators booth, real shortly we're about to bring you some exclusive interviews with our A event champions Cornell, coming shortly.
Well, I'm standing here with the Cornell team. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Brendan. I'm a student.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm Vice.
I'm Diego. I'm the lead.
I'm Reed. I'm second.
Why don't you tell us, tell the audience where you're from and what it is exactly that you're studying at Cornell?
All right, so you want like hometowns or like we're from Cornell? All right, I'm from Yardley, Pennsylvania, studying math at Cornell.
I'm from around the Poughkeepsie area studying civil engineering.
I'm from Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico, and I'm studying computer science.
I'm from Vero Beach, Florida, and I'm studying archaeology.
Very good. 3 STEM majors and a humanities social science major. It's always good to see humanities majors on the ice. I'm a comparative literature major myself. So how do you feel?
I feel pretty good. You know, we've just been curling all weekend, so can't beat that.
It's a fine way to, I think, close out your senior year, isn't it? Any other graduating seniors on the team or no? Graduating two.
Yeah, and this is kind of the end of my first official year of curling, so it feels really, really great.
As I was saying, curling is not a sport, it's a lifestyle, so I bet you two will be curling for much, much longer. Indeed, you have 2 wonderful players left on the team who will be sure to continue your legacy. Would you like to take a bow to the camera?
I would personally like to award you all the Happy Valley Bonspiel Bobby Torres Award. Congratulations. Thank you all very much.
We return to our coverage of sheets 2 and 3. I hope the camera didn't catch that. Anyway, we have ongoing 7th ends on sheets 2 and 3. What a game we have as Liam Woods delivers his first stone. The score, by the way, on sheet 2 is 7-0 in favor of Navy, and the score on sheet 3 is 7-0 as it currently stands in favor of RPI.
Penn Nova attempting to land one in the house for this final end of theirs, sticking just in the 8-foot.
We are certifying the final results on sheet 1. The final score is 10-0. Cornell over Penn State 1 after 6 ends.
Cornell played a powerful game, mathematically eliminating Penn State before that final end.
Meanwhile, on sheet 2 and 3, the games are ongoing. Sheet 3 is finishing up their 6th end. And RIT just crashes into a group of their guards. I believe that is their last stone for end number 6.
Looks like RPI takes it.
Looks like it would appear to be the case. I believe they score 1 final point. And it is handshakes all around for RPI on sheet 3. The final score then on sheet 3 is 7-0 RPI over RIT for an exciting showdown between the 2 New York powerhouses, skipped by Claire and Vice Jenny. Graduating seniors from RPI, but this is certainly not the last we'll be seeing of them. I'm sure they'll be making their way onto the professional circuit. And RPI, as you know, is a very strong program, and they have plenty of backing to carry them forward into the upcoming season. But what a way for them to begin the season off right, qualifying hopefully for Nationals 2024 in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Fortunately, Claire and Jenny will not be there, but their legacy will be felt, and they've gotten the team off to the right start in this new season. I will wait for a final score update from the team before I finalize it.
It appears the scoreboard indicates 8 points.
8
for
points.
RPI
8
on
points
sheet
for
3.
RPA on sheet 3 at the conclusion of 6 ends. That is the final score. Congratulations to RPI. Congratulations to Claire, and I'm sure Vicky G in Austin, Texas is celebrating at home. What a fine game that was.
Our last game that is currently playing out is Penn Nova versus Navy.
Anyway, we still have one more exciting game left on sheet 2 between Navy 2 and Penn Nova combined. The score at present at the conclusion of the 6th end is 7-0. Lead second Will Madowny of Penn throwing his second of 2 stones.
In a battle between two East Coast cities, Annapolis versus Philadelphia.
I believe the midshipmen in Navy, once they graduate, will be commissioned as officers into the United States Navy, where I believe they serve a period of, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years? Is it 4 years? 4 or 5, with the option of actually pursuing further graduate studies. Okay, let's see what's the deal there. We have a, well, they seem to be fairly tied up, but indeed, it is still Navy that is sitting one with that rock just over the 4 foot. Yes, indeed. Go Claire and RPI Curling. What a fine job they did there, cleaning the sheets and concluding with an 8-0 picture-perfect finish over RIT. And, of course, an excellent effort from both sides. That, indeed, is your roommate. We'll be sure to let them know. I'm sure they'll be celebrating this evening. Claire, would you mind coming over to the commentator's booth?
We'll be right back. We're trying to get Claire on the line.
Claire, there's some folks who would like to say congratulations to you. They've been keeping a very close eye and watching with great interest in the comments. Would you like to say hello to your roommate and your mother?
Hi, Vicky. Hi, Mom.
Claire says hello to you all, and indeed, we appreciate you tuning in. Oh, my goodness, I can't hear a thing. They don't call it the roaring sport for nothing. Oh, my goodness.
Look at that.
We have some more folks from RPI who would like to say hello.
Hi, if my mom is out there, I love you.
Hi, Ross, unless you abandoned us.
Well, a fine effort by RPI. How about some pictures from Sam Futch?
Back over to sheet 2. Appears to be a Navy stone falling short of the house, but still in play. It looks like they're going to try to defend that center stone in the 4-foot ring.
Certainly would be nice to have a point on the board. You know, Lorraine says Navy with the shots and the energy. Indeed, you can't beat the energy of the Navy midshipmen.
You know, a lot of energy. Have you read the fitness requirements for the Naval Academy?
Oh my goodness!
Like a 5:30 mile. It's incredible. Really
Whoa! And that puts Penn on the board. Right now they are sitting 3, but not so fast because they have 2 rocks left, and so does Navy.
Also, quick attention to the chat. Mike Munoz, former Penn State Curling Club president. Thank you for tuning in, Mike. You've really helped transform this club into what it is today, so thank you for tuning in. All right, Navy stone is thrown.
Take out that blue stone.
On course,
And it
on
knocks it
target.
out. But
Nice.
it is sitting, looks like. It might just be a hair closer to the 4 foot than the Penn Blue Stone. Well, so much for that. Let's see where this takes us now.
Looks like this will take us to Skip Sophie Legler's first stone.
Sonny from Navy says hello to the commentators. We appreciate the modest acknowledgement. Oh, yeah, they got cornhole on ESPN. They got to put curling on the big screen these days, you know. Fortunately, they weren't showing the Tim Hortons Briar, I think, on ESPN. I think they normally do. Usually it's some odd hour.
And then briefly, there was NBC's Curling Night in America. That was a fun special.
Well, I suspected that thing wouldn't last very long. I mean, you watch the Olympics, and they usually put them on at 2 in the morning on CNBC.
Yeah, not an American-centric sport, but like I said earlier, it's about growing the game.
You've got that right. It's all about that grassroots effort, and it's so nice to see that college students able to organize these events. Indeed, we do make it both an art and a science, and it's just, again, like I said, makes for great company and a fun way to, most pleasant way to spend a weekend. I wish people would take us a little bit more seriously, and certainly I wish there would be some fundraising efforts on the part of USA Curling to encourage the universities to line our pockets just a little bit more. Curling is not a highfalutin sport by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly, with all that traveling, the expenses do add up.
It sure does, with teams all over the East Coast and the rest of the country, Midwest as well, ranging as far west as, I believe, ASU, at least in the college community.
Emerging regions are indeed a thing. Toledo's joining us from the emergency regions. I believe also University of Nebraska, Omaha, and even UC Santa Barbara.
That's new. Shouts out to UCSB.
Well, we do appreciate you very much for joining us, for looking at the last 2 stones on that side on sheet 2, the final Navy stone from Skip Quinn, hoping to potentially double up there in the house.
Or defend what they have, depending on the relative position of those 2 stones on the edge of the 4 foot.
And that stone hogs just a little bit light, but that may well have been intended. Let's see. And for the final stone of the sheet 2 draw, the final stone of the inaugural Happy Valley Bonspiel, and indeed the final stone for the Penn Nova combined teams' exceptional, outstanding, first-rate college curling careers. Let's hope for a picture-perfect finish. From the gallery, we're getting some backhouse coaching. Some warm room coaching here. They want Sophie Legler to do a Penn State special, but I don't think she'll pay very much attention to that.
Doesn't usually work. It's a lot of fun, though.
A beautiful delivery, as always, and expected from Sophie Legler. The rocks coming down the ice. The sweepers putting some weight on their brooms, but won't be necessary. It's coming in a little bit fast, and it might crash into a blue rock. Oh, and it just moves a guard. And the final score for Penn Nova, 8-0 in favor of Navy 2 at the conclusion of the 7th end.
Handshakes all around. Concluding our C bracket game and concluding our last draw for the Penn State Happy Valley Bonspiel.
The final scores for Sheet 1, Cornell 10, PSU 1-0.
That would be Penn Nova on Sheet 2. Final score 0-8 versus Navy.
Last but not least, on Sheet 3, RPI, RIT, 8-0 in favor of RPI. This concludes our coverage of the inaugural Happy Valley Bonspiel, hosted by Penn State University at the one and only Pagula Ice Arena in State College, PA. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. We hope to see you again this time next year. This has been Brian Lee from Princeton University.
This is Matt Anderson out of Penn State.
One final thank you for our sponsors, Brimfitters. Go to brimfitters.com and use code PENNSTATE for a discount and to support the Penn State curling team. Many thanks to Doggy's Pub in downtown State College, PA, a local institution. Thank you to Drew Von Tisch earlier for a rousing rendition of Scotland the Brave on the bagpipes. Be sure to check out the Nittany Highlands Pipe Band on Facebook and Google. Thanks to OBS Black Magic Design for their AV support. Last but not least, you can follow the Penn State curling team at CurlingPSU on Instagram. This event and the Penn State curling team has been funded by the student-initiated fee at the Pennsylvania State University.
Most importantly, we would like to thank you guys for tuning in. This is the whole reason we do these streaming setups, so thank you for tuning in, and we value your viewership.
Congratulations to all the players. Congratulations to all the seniors. We'll see you around. Now then, off to brimstacking. Good curling, and have a great rest of your Sunday.
Good curling.